breakfast commercial, but
We met him at
That should be fun.
Oh, goodness. Oh, warm out.
Steve is a club member, and he also runs a separate organization which is the Charlie Bates Project, and he specializes in providing solar events for schools.
Are we ready over there with the camera?
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Stephen Ramsden. I'm interested in solar astronomy, you might notice. Like Theo said, I run the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, and we see, we've been doing it since 2008. It's just me, I say we, but it's just my wife and I. We saw 60,000 kids in 2009, and we're hoping for more than that this year. And, my presentation is on the sun today, and I've done a couple of them here already. Who has never ever seen me before? Okay, good.
Here they are.
I have no formal college education in this. I just do this as a hobby. So if I'm off on some of the data, I apologize. I'll do my best. The sun. When you look outside, there it is. When I was in the Navy, before I started doing my current job of aircraft control, I worked on a nuclear submarine, and we watched gauges, basically regulated things. Uranium being split and causing reactions which power the sun. Little did I know, I had no idea about the sun back then. I was into astronomy, but nothing about the sun. So the sun really is the cause of everything to me, and I have a lot of respect for it. I never realized I'm making fun of it now. But I don't see why any of these guys spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars on telescopes to see something 200 million light years away when you got something right around the corner that changes every day, and you don't need a telescope at all to see the sun and appreciate the sun. Frank over here is into it. Cleve is. A lot of the guys have been getting more involved in the sun, and the amateur solar astronomy hobby has really went a long way in the last few years. Marie Lott's all into it. She's got her own deal going. The sun is awesome, okay? And this isn't a religious viewpoint. This is a scientific viewpoint. I never bring my religion into this, but sometimes they crisscross when you're talking about the sun. So, the sun, this is a sunrise over Buckhead the other day. I had a little augmentation of the photograph. But in about 5 billion years, that's what it's going to look like. So, when I say the sun is the cause of everything, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and remove this now.
Just leave it there.
The kids love that. So I liken it to outside at night, even out here after the meeting, you'll see these lights on the side. And you'll see bugs swarming around the lights. Okay, little tiny creatures that you can't really even see what they are. That kind of reminds me of the solar system, because it's this enormous ball of energy and these little tiny specks flying around it, getting all their food, warmth, and heat, and light from that source of light. And that kind of reminds me of the solar system. And I've always thought through, I studied the history of the sun, that these ancient cultures all thought the sun was the creator and thought the sun created life. And scientifically, really, there's no other explanation, and it does create life. So, this works. This is facts about the sun. We're just one of at least 100 billion stars in our galaxy, the Milky Way. The diameter of the sun is almost 1 million miles, about 865,000 miles. You can fit 113 Earths from one side to the other of the sun. So talk about insignificant. I mean, we're pretty small compared to the sun. 26 million degrees in the core, about 10,000 degrees on the surface. The sunspot areas are around 7,000 degrees. They look dark, they're not dark, they're just a little bit cool. So if the sunspot was taken off and put into outer space, it would be much brighter than the full moon. Largest object in the solar system, obviously. It had hydrogen and helium. Trace elements going up to iron, and even some heavier elements than that have been seen in the sun and spectroscopy and so forth. So it's made up mostly of hydrogen and some helium and some other trace elements. If we shoot the sun's output, what happens?
Nothing is. I suppose it seems to go in the screensaver or what?
If we took the sun's energy every second, it would be more than we've ever used in the entire history of mankind, or ever will use. Really, about 1 million years worth of our current energy output is brought out by the sun every second of every day. And, people say it's static, but it's not static. As Mr. Jekyll reminded me here, it's a variable star. It seems pretty static to me, yeah, it's a variable star. Apart from heat and light, the sun also emits charged particles called the solar wind, and there's some effects of the solar wind, particularly in my occupation, air traffic control. There's been many times when frequencies have been unusable because of sunspot activity or solar radiation, or sometimes just because of a thinner atmosphere passing overhead. But our frequencies routinely go out probably half a dozen times a year, or they'll have so much static they're unusable because of solar activity. So this is kind of how I tie it into my job, and I do some of my presentations through aviation. That causes the tails of comets. Everyone knows that. We're about 5 billion years old. Supposedly it's going to last about 5 billion more years before it runs out of hydrogen. Then it's going to go into some different phases we'll talk about. 8 planets orbiting the sun, 9 planets if you ask me. Actually about 1 million planets if you ask me. 8 that are officially recognized by these British astronomical types. Over 1 million other things orbiting the sun. Now, how big is it? Everybody's seen this before. This is a really interesting chart for me. That would be Mercury, Mars, Venus, and Earth. So there we are. There's China and India. You take Earth and put it there, and that's the size of Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter. We hadn't even started to get close to the size of the sun yet. So you take Jupiter and put it down here. Then Aldebaran, I'm sorry, Jupiter, Wolf 359, our sun is right here. Okay? And then Sirius. And you go put Sirius down to this size, you got Pollux, Arcturus, Aldebaran, which we look at all the time in our club. Then, I didn't even realize this stuff, but you take Aldebaran, put it down to this size, and you have Rigel, which everybody knows is in the constellation Orion. You can see it tonight if you look, if you have a cloud filter. Antares, Betelgeuse, which is also in Orion. Then you take Betelgeuse and put it down to this size, and you have all the way up to Canis Majoris. So, the sun is a tiny, tiny star compared to most. Average size, maybe a little bit smaller than most. And that to me is just an extraordinary graphic displaying the relative sizes. If you think about it, I mean, compared to this star, I mean, our entire solar system and all the stars around us are pretty much nothing. Does that make you feel better? But the good thing about this is, below our scale of size, there's just as much stuff below us. So if we were representing this ball, if I was standing here, and tail was this ball, relative size, there's that many things below our size scale too. So we're kind of in the middle. What does the sun mean to you? To me, obviously it's the largest, brightest object in our sky, apparently largest. It's responsible for all life on Earth, and there's no scientific argument that can say otherwise, because every form of life relies either directly or indirectly on something from solar radiation. Okay? A huge round glowing ball of plasma keeps me warm, lights my way. It's ever-changing source of wonder for me. I don't know about you guys, but when you can look at something through a telescope every day and it's completely different than it was the day before, and it's moving, and things are falling off of it, things are shooting into it. I mean, that's something you don't see on the old M13 cluster very often. You don't see things flying out of Saturn too often.
Didn't a comet crash into the sun a few days
Certainly
ago?
did. They saw a comet. Planet Mercury was in the photo, and the SOHO probe launched by NASA. I had another presentation on this previously. SOHO's discovered over 1,500 comets that were unknown after it was launched. So there's comets flying all over the place, and one of them flew into the sun the other day. How did the sun come to be?